If you're looking for 3 rigs that are going to help you get more fish in the boat this season, then you need to watch this video. So the first thing we're going to do here today is to spool up this new reel with that mono that we just got off Amazon. So we are going to start with that arbor knot. I'm going to make that loop. Trim the top. And then we have our knot at the top. Next, I'm going to take the rod here. This is a 2-piece rod. We don't need to smash it into anything here, so I'm going to take the top piece off. And then I'm going to take that line and just run it through that one big eyelet there. Bead through. Now the next thing is kind of important here. In order to spool this on, we have to start with the bail open. So we're going to open the bail, and then we're going to finish off our arbor knot. Okay, so we have our arbor knot all done, but our bail is still open. So the next thing we're going to do is close the bail. Make sure that the line is in the right spot, up by this trigger. Then I'm going to hold the line taut with my hand a little bit further up from the handle, and we're going to make sure that our mono is labeled up, sitting on the table. Next, we just reel. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that I put some pressure here with my fingers and bringing it onto the spool. We'll fill the spool up till there's about 1/8 of an inch at the top. So we have the reel all spooled up now. It's about 1/8 of an inch up to the very top. All right, and all I've done here is I've tied it off on the little hook holder just to make it a little bit easier for when I transport it, because we're going to give this away within the next couple of days. Let's move on now, and we're going to do some rigging. So before we go into doing a little bit of rigging here, we're going to open up this case and see what's inside. So just quickly here, I just opened up the bag, and there are 3 bags of plastic worms in 3 different colors. There's some swim baits in here as well. Nice little swim baits. Those would be good on a drop shot. We're going to show that a little bit later on. And there are a bunch of worm hooks in here as well. So the first rig that we're going to cover here today is the Texas rig. So what I have here is a worm hook, the worm, a bullet weight, and of course the line. I just switched things up here to that Blue Power Pro, just in hopes that you can possibly see that from about how far you are away. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this bullet weight on the line. And once the bullet weight is on the line, then we have to tie our hook on. We're going to use the Palomar knot, of course. And there it is. The bullet weight is just ahead of the hook on the line, and now we're set to put the worm on. So what we're going to do to put the worm on is, if you notice in the front here, there's about 1/4 of an inch before that hook takes a sharp right turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the plastic worm, about that 1/4 of an inch. I usually go just a little bit more and feed that down. Now when we're getting to that crook, I'm going to spin the hook, and then it can lay just like this. Now, to get your measurement, because you want to make this worm straight, to get my measurement, I usually landmark with my thumb right here. So I'll landmark with my thumb, put it through the worm, and there it is. The goal is here is to make sure that this part of the worm is still straight. So as it hangs, it still stays pretty straight. Now you have the option to fish it just like this, or you have an option to skin it. And by skinning it, what I'm saying is we pull the worm forward, I bring it up into the hook, and then bring it back. So I just pull it forward a little bit, skin it a little bit, and that means that just the tip of that hook is inside the worm, and that'll stop you from getting snagged on rocks and trees. So all in all, this is the Texas rig. Now, as an aside to that, that is called the Texas rig, and that worm is Texas rigged. You're going to hear in other videos where people say, I Texas rigged this, I Texas rigged a crawdad on there, I Texas rigged a swim bait. That's what they mean by Texas rigged, and this is an actual Texas rig with the weight on the front. So the second rig we're going to look at today is called the drop shot. So what we need for the drop shot, obviously I have another piece of the Power Pro. I have a hook. Now normally I would use a circle hook on this one or a drop shot hook specifically, but I'm just going to use this worm hook that's found in that little kit just so we're consistent. And a pencil weight. You don't need to have a pencil weight, but you need to have some weight that's going to go on the very, very bottom. And then of course a bait. For this instance, I'm going to use this little swim bait and we're going to nose hook that in the end. So the first thing we need to do is we need to tie that hook on. This is a little bit different this time. We're going to still use the Palomar knot, but we're going to make the tag ends very, very long. So I just finished up the Palomar knot here, and what I want you to notice is how long I've left the tag end. So this is the end that goes to the rod, and this is my tag end. So what I want you to notice here is right now, when it goes up and down when I pull on the tag end, that it kind of goes sideways. So we need to go that up and down. So the way that you do that is that you take that tag end again, and you feed it through from the top, back through that hole again. Now you can see the difference. Do you see how the hook is standing straight up now? That's what we want to have. So down here on the tag end then, we need to decide how far we want it to be off the bottom. In this case, we've got about 15 inches or so. Normally I wouldn't make one quite that long, about 12 inches or so is what I usually end up with. We're going to put the pencil weight on. And I'm going to make it about that 12 inches or so. Just a couple of knots to hold that pencil weight in there. So here's the finished rig. We have the pencil weight at the bottom. We have the hook about 12 inches or so above that. And that's the way it looks. That pencil weight just drags on the bottom and your bait stays about 12 inches or so off the bottom. The last thing to do is to put that bait on there. We have this nice little swim bait in the kit here. It's got a little paddle tail. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got the paddle tail pointing down. And then I'm going to nose hook this bait. So nose hook means I'm only going to go in, about 1/4 of an inch or so. If that, maybe. And just leave that. So that way when you jig it up and down, that little tail is going to flutter around. And that'll attract them in. The last rig that we're going to cover here today is probably the most important rig if you're a smallmouth fisherman. There's not a smallmouth fisherman out there that doesn't have this rig. This is called a tube. This is a super simple rig, but this little piece of kit right here will get fish in the boat. Rigging this is very, very simple. You need this specialized hook. This is a tube bait hook. It has the weight right in the front and the eye up at the top. All you simply do is you need to lubricate the end of the weight. Feed it inside the tube. The tube itself is actually hollow. Feed that down. And then you just poke the eye of the hook through. That's all there is to it. Then you tie it onto your line with your Palomar knot. And here's the finished product. We finished up our knot. There it is. And you're looking at the most versatile piece of tackle that you can use as a smallmouth fisherman. This bait right here will work spring, summer, and fall. This baby's the key. All right, guys, that's the last video in the Learn to Fish series. Now we've gone through the whole gamut from buying your first equipment to rigging up your first lures. Now you're all set to get out there and get some fish in the boat. See you on the water.